Brandon, and welcome back to Apollo City Comics, your anything and everything comic book podcast. Today we have a very special guest that I'm super hyped about. Kind of a weird coming together through the community that I always talk about, and it's always through the community that we discover these people. And I'm super excited for you guys to meet this guy because we're covering a comic today. And we haven't covered a comic on Apollo. And we say it every episode. We've been doing so many interviews, so much cool shit's coming out on Kickstarter. So speaking of Kickstarter, you can get ready for our Kickstarter. And Out Come the Comics, a punk rock anthology. And that is in the link below. If you just hit that notify me on launch button, that will help, spread the word about it. It'll help Kickstarter kind of get into the algorithm. Like go visit that link, hit that button. I know you probably have to sign up for Kickstarter and it's a bitch, but they have a Google way to sign in and you all have Gmails. Takes half a second. Just hit it. It's like 2 more clicks after that. Bam, you're done. And you'll know when it launches. April 25th. We'll be on Instagram Live all that day with lesser known comics. So get ready for that. Um I'm really excited for today's episode. So much so that I had to wake up and get prepped because it kind of goes deep diving into some mythological just really crazy shit that I read this book years ago and I didn't really get it, but now being a wiser older adult, I'm just like, oh, this makes sense. So you probably should also probably get that cup of coffee that you got from coffeeandacomic.com and where you signed up for a pull list with Frank, who I mean, honestly, the pull list stuff, it just changed with Frank and it threw me off for a second, but it is the easiest, most simple thing in the world. You go to fucking previews pages, previews world, you set up your pull list there. You select all the books you want, and then it just Frank, he has it all ready for you, all organized. You just add it to your cart once it comes out, and then you check out and you get everything you want. You don't have to send them emails describing what you want and which issues and shit, what variants. You get to choose it yourself, laid out in front of you on the pull list page. So go do that. Make your life easy and get bagged and boarded books with a little bag of coffee inside with some cool ass stickers, and then he'll follow up with you on other stuff. Ah, it's great. Go hit up coffeeandcomic.com, support a local business, and support some indie comics. So man, I blasted through that so fast. I'm out of breath at this point. I'm so hyped and excited for this episode because we're covering a dope book with the great and welcome to the show, Mr. Alex Batts.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very hyped to be here. I have to say, you crushed those ad reads.
Oh,
I
thank you.
never ad reads are not easy, honestly, especially if you're just doing them on the fly and just going through it. So mad props because that's not it's tougher than it sounds and seems.
It's always
So,
nerve wracking. I'm always terrified
yeah.
when I start an episode because you just have to it's kind of like being on a treadmill. You just have to keep on running because if you stumble,
Yeah.
you're just gonna be, oh, and you just fuck up. And then if I say a shitty joke, I just have to run with the shitty joke.
You just gotta plow through. You're nope, just keep going because you can't be oh no, I gotta restart it because then you'll just have to do that 12 different times.
Yeah.
Then you'll be in your head about it and you're oh no, I gotta restart it for the 18th time. And then you're oh no, it's been 45 minutes.
And I don't edit these episodes in depth to be well, I mean, and you guys know I fuck up every creator's name that comes on the show. And I don't mean to. It's just you ask their creator's name in the beginning of the show when you start hanging out. Just how do you say your last name? Just so I know how to say it right. And then you say it to the person a few times. And then you end up talking for 15, 20 minutes. And then by the time you introduce them back on the show, you're just fuck, dude, you're bizarre ass last name. It's when they see mine, Blocksdorf. At least that's Blocks and a Dwarf. I have an easy.
Yeah, I heard it on the on some of the calls. Yeah, I heard Mark say it, and I was I think that's probably spelled how it sounds.
Yeah,
and then I saw
100%.
it one time, and I was okay. I was cool, dude. You would be surprised how many people fuck up my last name routinely.
Would they call you Bates?
Yeah, they call me Bates, and I'm where are you? I don't understand. I guess the second T just throws people off, but yeah, I literally I don't know if y'all did this, if you had this in elementary school, but every time there was someone's birthday on the announcements in the morning in elementary school, they would be happy birthday, whoever, and they would always fuck up my last name, and I was dude, it's not that hard.
Dude, they'll call me Blocks Ford. They'll just switch the D and the F, just whew. They just think it's a typo or some shit, but they'll say Blocks Ford, and I'm Dorf is a thing,
that's so weird. Yeah, no, but I get Bates a lot, and I'm nope, it's just Bats. There's just 2 of the T's.
And Bats is so much cooler. Not
why I
only
love
as
my
like
last
a
name.
fucking Batman reference, but then it's like an Avenged Sevenfold reference that you're just like, all right, well, I'll roll with this. Like,
Yeah, I'm like, I got this on lock. Actually, it's cool. A lot of people won't like if people meet me and like know me a little bit before they see my last name and like they find out that I'm a huge Batman fan and like they see that that's my last name on something, like they don't believe me at first.
yeah,
They're like, "Is your last name really Batson?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's like the coolest accident," or like,
it's too good of a
like
last name where it sounds fake. Like it sounds
yeah,
like you
I'm
made it
like,
up.
it's
Which
the
is
best,
actually
honestly.
that's why I don't have a Facebook. That's why like Apollo kind of has a Facebook page, but like I don't use a personal Facebook because they didn't accept my last name. So I'd use my first and middle name.
It's so
And
weird.
I even sent a picture of my ID saying like Blocksdorf is a real last name, and they're like,
Like
nah. And I'm
you're
like,
like, "Hey,
all right.
this is me though. I promise."
Yeah,
Like
like this is my like so fuck Facebook for that, but I use Instagram. So I guess I'm still getting fucked by Facebook somehow.
that's true. Yeah, that's true. Man, they got me. I didn't used to be that like addicted to Instagram, but then they got me with Reels, and like
Sucks,
I
dude.
spend
You doom
way too much
scroll.
time.
All of us doom scroll, especially having like a podcast account. You just fucking get stuck on shit, and then you view one thing once and you see it forever. Like
Yeah,
it'll always activate. And I wish somebody would view my shit once and then see my shit forever, though. The
right.
fuck
I'm
is
like,
up
can
with
you just
that? Why
push?
why aren't I getting more comic book stuff on my feed? It's like everything but that. Like, but anyways,
Yeah.
that's a whole thing. Alex, we were discussing stuff. We became connected because you have a project coming out that we can't really quite announce yet, but we had
Yeah,
a secret
it's
meeting
close.
about. Yeah, we're
It's
close to that
real
announcement,
close.
and I'm super hyped to like support that, and we'll rave about it, and you'll be on the show about it. Um, but we were talking about that where we could like how we could help each other out. And
Mhm.
we were talking about comics for like another fucking hour and a half in that 2 hour
Yeah,
conversation. And you
yeah.
brought up a book that like I've owned for years because I got it at Barnes and Noble at this like on a sale where it was like buy one get like two free or some bullshit. Like they
Yeah,
were
yeah,
just
yeah.
clearing indie comics, like Image comic books, the $10 books and everything. And I bought the first three issues of this series, The Wicked, The Divine. Is it The Wicked and The
Mhm.
Divine, or is it The Wick
Yeah,
Divine? Like
so
I've heard four different
it's
ways.
pronounced like the wicked and the divine, is just what everyone like says. 'Cause no one wants to be like the wicked plus the divine.
Yeah.
Like it sounds weird, even though that's what the logo is. But yeah, and then it's just generally like referred to as Wick Div for short
Wick
a lot
Div,
of the
yeah.
time. Yeah, yeah.
That's such cool. And there's so many trendy things about this books. For them to do Wictive, that's so trendy of them.
Oh, it's on. Or at least I think I saw something. Yeah, it's literally on the back of the paperback. It says hashtag WickDiv at the bottom.
Oh
Like
my gosh,
they've got
really?
it on lock.
Holy crap. Yep.
Yeah.
Wicdiv.com, hashtag Wicdiv. Damn. But I mean, we look at the creators, Kieron Gillen, he fucking incorporates that shit everywhere. There's always text
Oh
messages.
yeah.
I put text messages in scripts now because I've read so much of Kieron's stuff.
Dude,
And
he
he
does
had like
such
a
funny
Tumblr
shit with
account
it
in
too.
like a Marvel book, and like it was like I think Young Avengers or some shit like that. And he's
Mhm.
always done this one mentions a dead social media account. We'll
Which
get
is
to
so
that.
funny.
It's fucking great. But it's cool how trendy he always is with like the audience he goes for. You know what I mean? Like this is
Yeah. And
definitely a preteen or the teenager account.
I think it's weird too because when you do stuff like that, you of course like run the risk of it becoming dated. Like
Yeah.
what you were just talking about, where like there's a reference to a dead social media, like they reference Vine
Yeah.
in a couple of these issues, right? Which is so funny, but like it weirdly it's done in a way where I don't think that it's like, for lack of a better way to describe it, it's not as much of a like a cringe
Hmm.
dating. It's very much just like, no, this is a product of the time that it came out in like an almost endearing way. It's like, no, that just like fits the tone and like it was very much what was relevant at the time and like prescient at the time, and that's part of the reason that like it landed so much and was so popular like when it came out.
And it's easy to understand right away too. Like you're not having to figure out the social media platform. You just see it and you
Yeah,
just kind of get it. Or
yeah, I think that's probably the thing, is that like even though it's very much a like, oh, this must be a reference to like whatever, it's not, you're not confused about the reference. Like it's
Mhm.
done in a way where you're like, okay, I know what he's talking about. Like even if someone didn't know what Vine is, you're like, oh, I get it.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, exactly. Yeah. You just know it's social media because of like how it's presented.
yeah.
I mean, and this is a book when I read it the first time years ago, man, years ago. I guess right when it first came out in trade paperbacks, it had to have been. I didn't like get it. I really didn't
Yeah.
get it. I read it and I was just like, rereading it again years later, it's literally been like 8 years since I've like last picked up this book, and I've had these trades just sitting on my bookshelf, knowing I need to get to them. I kind of realized like, okay, right away, like I was like, is this like the first volume? Did I pick up the right one? Because it tosses you into this story so quickly. But literally, as long as you understand the fucking premise of it, and that's on the back, and that's
Yeah.
once you get that, and then you start the fucking book, it all makes sense. And it's all
Yeah.
like there's no proper way just to start this story because of how it begins. And in the back it says every 90 years 12 gods return as young people. They are loved, they are hated. In 2 years they are all dead. It's happening now. It's happening again. So essentially, the whole fucking premise of this book to just like get it and understand and just start running, just like I was with those fucking ads right over there. You just hit the
Yeah.
ball running with this book and you just can't stop. And once you do that, if you stumble and trip and question shit too much, you'll get lost. But like, just know that these gods take over young people's bodies, and now they're in those bodies, and the people that were in there don't fucking matter anymore, and they're gonna fucking die in 2 years. Like, you fucking hit godhood, and then you're dead. That's it. That's your fucking mark
Yeah.
on the world and shit. And once you get that, that's it. That's like,
Yeah. And then there's so much that like comes from that, which is crazy too, because that premise like is deceptively simple. Because
mhm.
like you said, like once you get that and you like take that at face value, which I also love the line in the first issue where when they're interviewing I don't know how to say her name. I've never had to say it out loud, but the Shinto goddess,
Oh yeah.
Amy is what I'm gonna call her because
Mhm.
they do call her Amy like at one point. Um, whenever she's being interviewed by Cassandra, and Cassandra's like, "Yeah, just because you're immortal doesn't mean you live forever." Like we've all heard the PR line, which like also is such a good PR line, and like
Fuck yeah.
is also what they used to like promote the book before it came out, which is just so smart. But yeah, like it's a really simple premise, but it also has so much that it can then like explore from that. Um, it's really crazy. You mentioned the fact that you read this book whenever like it had to be around whenever it first came out. I didn't actually. So
Oh, interesting.
I remember seeing this book on the shelves because I remember seeing like the cover, like these types of covers. Like I remember when this first like the hardcover
They're
came out. I saw it
gorgeous.
at my shop and I was like, oh, that looks interesting. But like I didn't end up picking it up. And then I don't remember. I think it was on sale or something on Comixology one time, and I like picked up the first volume or whatever, and I like just plowed through it. And then like
Nice.
the second one was also on sale, so I got that one. And then up until like up until issue 30, the like trades had been out. Like whenever I started reading it, and
Mhm.
so I literally like one weekend just blew through all the trades that were out and then like read the single issues that I needed to be caught up. And then from like issue 31 to 45, so to the end, like I read that as it released. But like I
Nice.
wasn't on the train from the beginning, which is like crazy to me because I'm like, oh, I should have like I wish I had those 1 through 30 like floppies.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, it is one of those things though where like I started reading it and I was like, man, I can't put this down. Like it's
Dude,
so good.
that's how I felt rereading it. Like once I got like invested to it, like it's so God, he has it makes me angry how brilliant some of these lines are. Like there's some shit
Yeah.
that's in here, and I'll try to point out a few of them. Um, but between him, let me just break down the credits real fast before we jump into it. We have Kieron Gillen as the writer, Jamie McKelvie as the artist, Matthew Wilson colorist, Clayton Clowes letterist, Hannah Donovan designer, and the designer is an interesting credit to have because not every book has a designer. But when you
Yeah.
look at like books like this and like great example, House of X, Powers of X that we were
Powers of
just talking
10.
about, yeah,
Yeah.
dude, you were fucking
Molars.
yeah,
Yeah.
that design work is I think he won an award or something for that because it was
I
just
mean,
so
as he
fucking good.
should.
Yeah, yeah, like that designing in a I'm learning this with the anthology, with the punk rock anthology. The design is so fucking crucial because it just
Oh
sells
yeah.
so much of the book. And a great designer, dude, you could just sell the book on that and just get curiosity
I mean,
purely on off of that.
like that's literally what I was just saying. Like with the like this, like you have the pages like this that are like throughout the book, and like that's just the way that that's designed is so immediately eye catching and like
Mhm.
interesting. You're like, what is this? Like, I want to know more about this, and it's
Yeah.
just yeah, it's crazy good.
Yeah, and we'll probably point out a couple things the way they did it. Even the covers for the trades and shit, how they came out, fucking brilliant. Chrissy Williams, editor. D. Kuniev as a flatter.
Uh, yeah, I can't remember how it's pronounced. I've heard it like once.
Yeah, and as a flatter. Flatters are basically they kind of help prep for digital work. I want to say on like
And
Photoshop.
so,
They work with the colorist. I will say that.
yeah.
I don't know too much about it. We'll probably get someone to talk to us about that at some point. And then we have Nathan Fairbairn as a guest colorist on number 4, pages 1 and 2. So that happens sometimes. We got to pick up
Wait,
work.
what? I did not realize that. I have to go look at this now. What 2 pages were
Yeah,
these?
well, page 1 and 2.
Oh, okay. I know. It's the mural. It's balls.
Oh,
Which makes
interesting.
so much sense. Actually, now that I like see that and think about that, like, yeah, that it is colored differently than the rest of the art.
Where is page
'Cause it-
4? I mean,
Because it's the one that's
let me do this
colored
fancy.
to look like the like an actual like painting, like a Renaissance painting.
Do this fancy camera trick right here. All
Oh
right.
yeah, there you go.
So, this one right here. Okay,
Yes.
that makes
So it's
sense.
Yeah, right. Like as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh, okay. And then the next one where you get like the full shot of it.
Oh, fucking crazy. Yeah, because it does have that painter's effect. That's interesting. And it's so contrasting to
With
the
the
regular
regular
colors.
with Wilson's regular colors, yeah. Which is so good.
That's
There are some things
cool.
which like this book, this issue, or this trade, like kind of gets into some of it. Like whenever the gods start fighting, you like see it. And also when they go to like the underground, kind of how like the darkness envelops Laura at one point. But like there's some creative like visual stuff that they do in this series that I literally don't understand how they pull it off. Like it's
Yeah,
wild.
I could totally. And honestly, a lot of that's due to like the way Jamie makes every character so unique and stand out so well. Like Jamie's
Yeah.
really great at just defining someone purely off of their appearance.
I love, especially in this good page you're on is a good example of the like the 2 panels below the like 3, just the difference in body posture and emotion that she
Oh,
shows right there. It's like
yeah.
just such incredible character work, and this book is just full of that. Like that's just the book. Like
Mhm.
it's so wild. It's so impressive to see.
The expressions on everyone's faces, how like dude, it's wild what Jamie does. And it's so cinematic in a sense. Like you feel everything that it kind of adds while you're reading it. It just elevates the experience like completely. Even this one, like you fucking there's no like word balloon. You can't hear anything she's saying. It's being described through the
Yeah.
fucking pages. This caption is describing her voice right now and how fucking like godlike it is. And you don't hear any of it, but you fucking understand it so well just through
Yeah,
Jamie's
because
fucking
it's more
expressions.
about the feeling than like you can't. I mean, like obviously the pages are describing it, but like the whole point of the describing it is like it's not like anything that you've experienced before. It's
Mhm.
just so, and you can tell like you see that on the page. I love the way that her eyes look in that bottom like left panel, the like the almost like black hole like rimmed eyes or like
Oh yeah.
it's so good. So
Yeah.
I have to ask, like, what did you think about the first issue specifically? Because like it's probably one of my favorite first issues of all time. I think it's a really, really damn good first issue.
I actually thought the first issue was quite interesting because the way it sets up a lot of this. What the fuck did my camera just do right now? Let me refresh that real fast. There we go. Sorry about that. Because check it out. Like you're kind of introduced to what's going on, and you're introduced to Lucifer, or who Lucy, and that's really the one that gets your attention because it's the David Bowie thing, and you're kind of also like thrust into this whole thing where it's a fan meeting all these like rock star gods that are going on, and the way it's broken up and explained to you so quickly, you kind of develop like 5 different personalities within the first 10 pages. And then the fucking death happens. The fucking fuck, dude, that coloring right there.
Oh, the
That's
coloring's out of this world.
so fucking insane. It kind of like really like I don't know. It's kind of interesting how it's one of those things you're thrust so fast that if you blink, you're gonna miss some shit. Because
Yeah.
you're set up, and this is like, and once again, we return to this. And then we have the dinner scene. The dinner scene is kind of like prepping you about the characters, which is a pretty good setup, letting you know who everyone is years before fucking it actually happens. And it introduces the click. And the click,
Which is so good.
dude, by the end of the fucking issue, the click happens again. And you know,
Mhm.
like if you're paying attention to these first 3 pages, you fucking know what's about to happen.
And especially, I love one of my favorite things about the series, and they use it constantly, is that 1, 2, 3, 4. Is
Oh,
because
yeah.
because music is such an integral part of the series, also like the music and the rhythm, and like
Mm-hmm.
that 1, 2, 3, 4 motif just happens all the time, and it's always so satisfying. Like,
Damn, you're right. I didn't even notice the 1, 2, 3, 4, how it's presented so often. Like in 3 pages,
yeah,
we just saw it 3 times. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
Oh, it
Like,
happens all, and it's Morgan and Baphomet do it in the
oh, and the
like in the underground whenever they
mhm.
before they start performing, like, and they're yelling back and forth at each other, and then Morgan starts counting, and in between the count, he's like, "Don't fucking start counting without me,"
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Fucking shit.
which is so good.
It's
Yeah, this the first issue, like, it's such a smart way to introduce readers into the world, because like you said, like, you're thrust into it and you get such a quick understanding, but it's because, like, obviously, like, Laura at first is is the self-insert character, right?
mhm.
Like,
She's the
that's
fan, yeah.
yeah, like, she's the fan, she's the one who's like telling you about this world, introducing you to it, and like she gets, immediately like thrust into it, and that's kind of how you get there. But like it's just such a smart way to do it, and then also like segueing to like interview is like, okay, this is a really organic way to like essentially exposition dump for the
Yeah.
audience, but like it doesn't feel like that. It feels, or like I said, organic, but also like you get so much character work for everyone throughout that sequence. And the reason that it works so well is because like they are all such varied personalities, and you can tell that immediately. Like, you instantly get the like, that Kieran has a very strong understanding of how each of these people are as people, and like that
Mhm.
just comes through in every line of dialogue. And like, dude, that art is
Yeah,
ridiculous.
I fucking love this page. It's and that's the thing about it is that the documentary style of it doesn't feel like just thrust in because it's like if they're all treated like rock stars and you have this rock star aesthetic and vibe to it, having the documentary crew, that just makes sense. Like
Yeah,
look
like
how
that happens.
look how many fucking documentaries Kiss has. Like do they always
Yeah.
have a
Oh,
crew around them, you know?
yeah, it was a constant thing. Oh, the covers are so good.
So good. I think issue 2, I have it in the back, but Chip Zdarsky did a fucking variant cover for that too. Which is fucking Chip. God damn it. Him and Sex Criminals. I think all this was coming out at the same time, and they were all kind of like friends at that point.
Oh, that's
Um,
funny.
so and this is the God's name that you're talking about that you hadn't really
Yes,
had to say
that I do
like
not know how to pronounce.
Terasu?
Probably, possibly.
Amaterasu? Possibly,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I don't know.
Um,
I just read it in my head, and I'm like, that one. Like,
Dude,
you know.
what's fucking crazy? Like only in comics can you really have moments like what you do in the second panel. Like you have
Hmm.
Lucy screaming in this first one, and then you say, "Get Anaki, please." And look it's all the colors just dwindle down into like her telling her in her ear, and then the rest is black and white. Like that's a solid single moment that like paused in time where like those sounds are kind of like I would say they're whispered, but they're just like,
Oh yeah,
they're
it's
just
just
compelled right
it's
there.
such a unique way to draw the attention to it. Also, before you flip pages, you notice anything about the blood splatter and the face on the bottom right?
Um, it does look kind of Watchmen-y, but no, what is it? Reveal it.
Uh, see, remember the end of this volume?
Oh shit.
Yeah, dude, I literally noticed that this read through, which like it also could totally just be me like reading into something that's not there, but like I saw it and I was like, hmm.
That's fucking great. And that's one of those things when writers like have time, especially in series like this. Tom King is really good at doing it with DC, but he's
Mhm.
very fortunate to be able to do that. When you write out the whole series first and then start putting it, you could start doing those loops. You could start doing that storytelling aspect. You could start preparing a good outline goes a fucking far way, you know?
Yeah.
Um, here we go. Dude, first example of a cell phone, issue 2. and doing a Wikipedia search. And I love that they did this because this is everything all of us were going to do right when we heard some of these names. And I was just like,
Yeah.
okay, cool. Thank God. This is good. Give me that. Do that search for me already. Are you like really into like mythology and stuff like that too?
Yeah, I do. So that's one of the reasons I love this series so much. I've always been a huge fan of mythology generally. Like when I was super young, Greek mythology was the main thing. But like the older I've gotten, pretty much all of them interest me because I think there's just a lot of, I mean, there's just a lot of fascinating stuff to do with them. So like the fact that this is like gods from a bunch of different mythologies, like kind of thrown into one story and like seeing how they interact and bounce off of each other, and then also like putting them in a modern setting is just like such an interesting thing to do, I think.
Yeah, it's very Neil Gaiman-y, very that's what caught my eye
Mm-hmm.
about it right away. I'm a big Neil Gaiman fan.
Oh, dude, absolutely.
And it's also like you realize why they fucking finally put him on Eternals because he had been writing the Eternals for years
Yeah.
in this
Oh yeah.
book. This is
Yeah, it's really it's great. And the more the book goes on to, like there's like more gods that can get introduced, and you're like, okay, like the way that everything happens is just very you can tell how much forethought was put into just like every element of it.
and Kieran's one of those like super nerdy like people. He plays one of those board games. I don't know what it is.
I mean, I know he plays D&D, but
It's not. It's what's the one that fucking Henry Cavill plays?
oh,
Is it Warhammer? I think it's Warhammer.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, he plays
yeah,
Warhammer.
it's
Yeah, because he's making a Warhammer series.
yeah. There you go. Fuck God, yeah, that's deep. That's deep. You know what I mean? Like, I wish I could be that nerdy. To be honest, I just that's
Right.
so hard.
I don't have the time for that. I
Uh,
can't.
here we're gonna visit the god the Morrigan at
Mm-hmm.
this point, and it's cool what they're doing with the panels to show you like how dark and how scary these tunnels are and how like impossible and scary it is just to go visit it down here. That abandonment aspect, and then like the lights make that much more of an impact when you're just like in that pitch black too. And they think they're gonna get the Morrigan, but
Instead, they
instead
get Baphomet.
fucking Baphomet. And it's fucking crazy because, like, in our apartment, like, especially because my roommate, we have a lot of Baphomet shit, like, everywhere. Like, Baphomet
Really?
is all over our apartment. Yeah. And then we get to this guy, and, like, I fucking hate him. I hate him so
Oh, he's
much.
such
He's
a
so,
dick.
yeah, so annoying. But then, like, you realize that he is the character you're supposed to hate, and you're just like,
Hmm.
okay, I get it. But
Yeah,
I fucking love vampire shit, and he looks like Danzig. So I just, it tells me over still.
it's funny. So this next page that you're about to turn to, that cover, that image of the Morgan, I have as a tattoo on my right calf.
Oh shit, that's fucking sick. That
Yeah,
is
I would show it, but that's kind of a difficult thing to
yeah,
try
that's
to
a hard thing,
show.
yeah, to roll up. Dude, you know what's cool about that cover when I was reading it, and I remember reading it the first time, when you just turn that page, ooh,
Oh yeah,
fucking
it's,
brilliant. You know what I mean? Like,
it's incredible. They do that for this isn't the only cover that happens for. It's like
mhm.
that happens for the next one too.
And
Did it happen?
if you pay attention to the circles, they start getting filled out more and more, and things just
Yeah,
start changing too. Like the Baphomet one had like the fire
flames
around
around it.
it, yeah, and this gets
Yeah,
added. So
those like continuously change too based on like what. See, like in that one, you can see there's I think two spaces, like two blanks,
yeah,
I believe.
yeah.
Yeah. So like
And then look at like
those will get
Lucy's
filled in.
behind bars, like,
Mm-hmm.
and she's in jail right now. I think that's super fucking cool.
Just like little touches like that are so cool. That whole sequence is so
Oh,
funny.
dude,
Morgan's head like
yes.
screaming just the most vile shit.
Puns are excellent. Baphomet is excellent. Baphomet is a serious intellectual capable of cultural illusions. T.S. Eliot is an anagram of toilets. This is something
Dude, that
Baphomet
one's
knows.
so funny every time.
Yes. Um, damn, I trying to think of. I'm trying to. I should have wrote down which page it was, but there's a line that I just thought was so fucking insane. It'll come to me right now once we talk more. But dude, this like Dark Phoenix attire and the red hair,
Mm-hmm.
fucking brilliant. She kind of reminds me of. It's funny. This comes up in conversation between us again. Crazy Jane from Doom Patrol. The way she's
Oh,
changing her
okay.
personality so much and is able to shift, and they have different powers and whatnot.
Yeah, I really like the different like 'cause it's called the I don't remember if they call it tri. I don't think they call it trifold. They call it some trip triple Morgan or something. Triple goddess. I don't remember exactly because she has the three though. Because it's
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Morgan, Annie, and then Bad.
I wonder if they
However,
say it in the beginning. In fact, that might be where the line was. In fact, you know what? Real quick, I think the line I was thinking of was about. Do you remember when they say something about like if you get a picture of her?
mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah,
no, it's
right
you're on the
here.
pages. Yeah,
This is the shit that pisses me off because it's too fucking good, dude. When they're describing the Morgan, they're like, if you try to take a photo of her, when you check the shot, 9 times out of 10, you'll see a picture of who you're gonna fall in love with at the moment of their death. Like Jesus
yeah,
Christ.
bro.
If
It's so metal.
if you're the 1 in the 10 who actually gets a photo of her and you try to put the shot online, the like button is replaced with a new one reading doom, and the only woman who's allowed to click it already has. Like
So good. I
fucking
love the
so good.
Morgan so much. She's so dramatic, and it's my favorite thing.
Yes, exactly, exactly. She's a total
I was,
goddess, you know what I mean? You're just right. She's
oh,
dramatic as fuck, and that's what they need to be.
it's so good. Just the ultimate goth. It's so
Yeah, yeah,
funny.
it's so amazing, right? Yeah, oh yeah.
Her and Baphomet just like constantly make jokes about trying to be like more goth than the other, and it's just gold.
And I love like the little banter chemistry between them. And there's the 1, 2, 3, 4 again.
Don't
This
and
one
then like
too.
don't start fucking counting without me.
And two gods speaking at once. No one, never seen that. No one has. Who knows? This is going to fuck be. And then I love that pacing right here. So
Yeah, it's
brilliant.
so
And
as she's swallowed by like the darkness.
that's great panel composition in general.
It's so good. I love and that the like free thought fall through the darkness. Just like
Beautiful.
come on now,
Yeah.
come on.
And then it's like you
It's
get the fact that they get paid for this page is just like the best feeling in the world. You know what I mean? Like this is so
mhm.
subtle, but so brilliant.
It's
Like,
also such a testament, honestly. Like big shout outs to their editor for like
mhm.
being like, yeah, this is a good like you need to go for that because like that's a full page of a comic, that's just black essentially. Like
Fuck yeah. You know what? This is Jamie's fucking magnificent at action sequences. The fact that
he's
this bullet's going fucking this way, and then you know where your eyes are going. You know what I mean? Like
mhm.
it's shooting, and then you see the impact, but you see the trail of impact because that's how fast it goes. Your eyes go from here straight to right here. Like it doesn't restart over here. You're going
Yeah.
bam because you're following this direction, and when you zag, you fucking see that, and you see how
And
fast
it,
it was going. That's
and it also
insane.
helps because it's like it's doing the inverse of the page before where the darkness is receding. And so like that helps with your
Ooh.
eye line too. Like or not the page
Damn.
before,
Oh
but
yeah.
like
Oh
two
yeah. The
pages
2 page
before.
before. Yeah, where it's opening
Yeah,
up
yeah.
like that. Holy shit. Yeah. I think this
Mm.
Fantastic Four fucking. I want to see a Fantastic Four book drawn like this. This is how I
Yeah,
want to
that
see the
those
Human
like
Torch.
super I don't even know how to describe that coloring that he gives it because he
Yeah.
does that whenever like the heads explode too. That
Hmm.
like
It just pops
I don't,
different, right? Like it's almost. I don't know.
yeah,
Maybe it's a
it's like
different
a
palette or.
it reminds me of like old school printing color, like they used to have to do for comics a lot of the time,
Yeah.
where it's
I.
more like I don't know. My brain wants to say CMYK, but I feel like that's not what that's like means.
I.
I am not an artist, so
I don't. It's
um,
funny. I had an artist just message me being like, "Do you need a RGB or see my MK?" And I was like, "Whatever you would send Mark." And he's like, "I'm gonna send whatever you."
that's such a good answer. They're like,
um.
I don't know.
Yeah. Fucking. I'm just gonna
Yes.
roll this over. Yeah. And this is crazy because, what's cool is how invested you are. This is the good thing about this book because you are so fucking distracted with when you take in a lot of characters, just the internals is a great example. Like the movie wasn't too great, I'm gonna say, in my opinion, because it was too many characters at once and it was hard to absorb them all, you know? But
Yeah.
having this like grounding fan that kind of brings you into it and levels with you around all these gods and kind of focusing also on her. Like even this argument with their parents just kind of reminds you, like, and it brings you back into center, and then you're going back forward with all these gods. Like it seems to make more sense that way. Um,
Yeah, it like also we take a moment to appreciate the fact that like the page you just left, the left one, like the fact that you can clearly make out the 7 panels that make up that page,
without
even
any
though it's
grid.
just, yeah, it's just pure black.
Yeah.
Like, come on now.
It does. You don't get lost. You don't feel confused. It's just
No, you're like, I know exactly where to go. This makes sense. Which is so good. But yeah, the thing with that, like, especially, I really like that argument right there between Laura and her parents, because like, one,
It's really good.
you don't you don't hear it,
Yeah.
which is like part of the point and part of what makes it so, because like it's whatever you are going to put in your head that happened there is so much more powerful than anything Kieran could have put. And so it, by just talking about the argument and giving Laura's emotional reaction to the argument as opposed to what she actually says, makes it it's so much more real as a moment for the reader, because then you're like, okay, like I can relate to this not because of what she said, but because of how she feels, which is what's important.
Exactly.
So, like,
that's
so
powerful, dude. That's fucking comics. Like that's how fucking sick that is. You don't even have to say anything. Like in a movie, you couldn't really do this because you'd still be
yeah, not as
speaking
much,
over like a
because like
voiceover
you could,
or music you're depending on.
yeah, you could depend on the music, and like you could cut the movies, obviously, like have done stuff like that. You can cut the audio, and just have them yelling, but like you lose 9 times out of 10, you're not going to have the narration, right?
Yeah.
That you get, which like really lets you get inside that character's head, because like
And this
voiceover
is what she's
narration in
saying.
movies
Like,
is like real
I'm,
risky.
yeah, like I'm saying things I don't mean. I regret this already. I regret seeing this. It doesn't stop me. It never stops me. I wish they would stop me. Wish they were angrier. I wish they would judge me more. I want this scene to be over. I want this to be over. I want to be out. Like you're just, and then the pause,
and then you get out,
yeah,
and then it goes, and it's like, okay, like we have that, and now she's indulging in her vices, which is like getting super involved with the gods. I also love this sequence because it's very creative, and like it uses, honestly, sort of the like, in a sense, the visual language of like film, because you're cutting back and forth between like Lucifer and Cassandra are not talking here.
right.
It's Cassandra and Laura, but because of the way that they've established it, like you're able to essentially have a conversation between Cassandra and Lucifer with the like back and forth, and like that's just it's so smart.
It tripped me out once I read it, because you're right. Because when you jump into it, unless you're paying attention, if you're not paying attention to the artwork, it's very easy to just like miss that entire fact, and you kind of get caught up in this whole thing. And even if you do get caught up with this whole conversation, you're taken back out of it, and they're like, "Oh fuck, that just happened." You know what I mean?
It's such an efficient way to shorthand, be like, well, Laura's just telling her all this stuff. You're just cutting out the middleman immediately, but like still establishing that the middleman is there, because like logistically for the plot, Cassandra's not going to talk to Lucy. So
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kieron, damn, that shit's fucking magical, dude. That's fucking comics. Like, it's so crazy what he does with this book, and the craftsmanship behind it. He's one of those people that like you need to study if you're making comics, because you could just learn so much from how he delivers characters like that. Oh, here's issue 4, the one that we were just talking about with those the painting being different right here.
Yeah. I love all the like the little names that they give each of the
oh yeah
chapters, because it's also not like, it's not per issue, because like some issues will have more than one of those.
Yeah,
it's a weird,
they're all fucking kind of clever and shit.
Yeah, they're also funny.
The moral of
and it gives the dates too, which are like important now, and through like, I mean, as the series goes on, it gets like more and more important, because you get into the like 2 years, which is the whole like they're about to start dying.
So does the series as a whole cover more than the first 2 years? Does it do different?
So the main series, the 45, because there's 45 numbered issues.
Yeah.
And then they did 4 one-shots, which were, one's 1923, and then 3 other ones are like 3 different one-shots that are from different times in the past when the like recurrences happened. So like one is during like the height of the Roman Empire. one. I can't remember. I know one's in France at one point. I can't remember when exactly that one is. And there's another one too. So there's four of those like one shot issues, and then they had a Christmas special and like a funny special, which were
Oh,
just like
nice.
fun like one shot things. So the four ones for the past, those cover stuff that happens in the different eras that they've returned before. But the main like 45 sticks with this like cast
Oh,
and goes through
interesting.
their their journey.
Oh, okay. Cool, cool, cool. I'm fucking hyped for that. That's great. That's a way to stretch out 2 years. That's fucking interesting.
Yeah, and like you get a little bit more info on some of the stuff that's gone down like in the past besides just in those one shots. Like
Okay.
some stuff happens in this, but like some of the stuff gets some like crazy payoff pretty far, like really far down the line. Like there's some stuff that happens in issue one. I mean, honestly, there's stuff that happens in all five of these issues, but like in issue one and four, actually specifically, there's like two different moments that get payoff in like issues like 30 and 36 or something.
Oh,
Like
nice. That's fucking sick.
it's gnarly.
Brilliant.
Like,
God damn it. That's fucking great. I can't wait to read more of it. Another fucking thing about Kieran is that how he's able to give the what's happening and then like what's going on in her head at the same time. And that makes
yeah,
you feel so awkward and you feel awkward. Though as awkward as she feels, you feel that. So you get nervous and you fucking get all excited and shit. Like, and it adds tension while you're reading. And that's so fucking great. Like,
yeah. Are those panels like at the top left page whenever he's like, "Did you like it?" And she's like, "Be cool, be cool, be
yeah,
cool,"
exactly.
and
Yeah.
she's just like, "It's okay."
She's
Like
like, I would
fucking
not.
nailed it.
I would so hard. Like, and it's just so fucking
It's
great.
it's so fun. I love too though the fact that like in that previous scene, like at this point in the story, we've established that like one of the gods is a murderer. Like,
Yeah,
well, we know that Lucy obviously killed those other two people, but like the narrative crux of this first volume is like trying to figure out who
killed the
murdered the
judge.
judge, and like
Which is such a great
we
crime story to set up. You know what I mean?
oh
Like,
yeah, it's honestly like with all the stuff that goes on in this series, like the fact that it opens with like a murder mystery,
yeah.
essentially, like, and the suspects are these gods is wild, and it's even crazier that the book just gets more bonkers like from then out.
Well,
But
dude,
like,
did you read his Eternal series?
oh yeah,
Yeah, that's the same
yeah,
fucking premise for volume one is that the god has been
yeah,
murdered and the resurrection machine has been destroyed.
yeah.
And who
We
fucking
got to
did it?
figure out who.
And it's just like you
It,
read volume one of this and you're like, oh yeah, fucking no wonder you wrote Eternals. Like you just took this
right.
idea and put it mainstream, you know?
It's so good, but it's such a compelling thing because you're like, yeah, I want to figure this out, and like, yeah, the scene where Laura literally yells at all of them, and it's like, one of you is a killer, like, and you're
Yeah.
like, oh shit,
Don't
like
you
that's
guys
true,
fucking
and you're
care?
kind of like, man, I don't want it to be like any of you. You all seem kind of cool, like,
Yeah. That's fucking God damn it. I love when he does the fucking phone shit and then you have a fucking old iPod that's all cracked up and shit.
cracked.
And god damn. Now it's actually like a phone that looks like that because of buttons like new and shit. But
I love her eye color changes.
yeah, it's red now too.
Yeah, whenever
Gosh.
she's gonna like do magic, essentially, her is just pissed. Her eye change is so good. See this one too, like that image of Tara, the first panel on the next page is Tara.
Oh, that's
Like it's the
fucking so
same
sick.
thing essentially.
That shit's so brilliant. That's great, like that's great design work too. Working your cover artist into like certain panels and shit.
Yeah.
Ah, good shit. Like
Oh,
if you exist, you're staring at me. So this is kind of like I love that the walkaway shot of like she's fucking escaped prison. She could have done it at any point. She just wanted to know what the fuck was happening with the gods and wanted to get intel. And then she was like, "All right, fuck this. You guys all fucking suck. I'm gonna go do my shit."
I
And
also I love the description of like I don't whatever
yes,
and like a coffee away from the
Highbury in
prison.
Ellington, 1 mile, a coffee, and 4 cigarettes away from Holloway Prison. Yeah, that's one of
So
the
good.
best fucking panels, dude. It pisses me off how good he is. I swear to God, like Kieran's writing is just too clever and smart. That's such a good shot too. That's such a like a superhero power pose right here.
Yeah, it's because like that's the thing is the book is so good all of the time, and then it turns into gods throwing down with their
Yep.
powers at certain points, and you're like, wow,
And
this looks incredible.
you see
Like,
the click and you know some shit's gonna happen. Boom. Yeah. It just picks up, and that's the thing. You think a book about like rock star gods, you're kind of thrown off, and it's all teenagery, and it has like cell phones and like oh, we missed the Vine part. Meant to bring that up, but
oh yeah, yeah,
uh, stuff like that. You think it's just like kind of dismissive or young adult, but dude, this is no, this is complex shit. Like they even do some goddamn, what's that called in comics with the dots
oh,
and
oh, I literally had to look this up not that long ago because I was mentioning it in a review.
I'm spacing it so hard.
I'll it, I'll get it back
Yeah, it'll hit
in
us real hard, like,
yeah, at some point.
but yeah, fucking that detail in that, especially in the fires and everything over here, in the action. It's the
Mhm.
superhero sequences that you kind of see that for the action blow ups and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And
I
then,
also like it was a way earlier thing, but I love how again, it's a testament to how good Kieran is at writing, but like the dialogue, how you can hear the tone in the characters' voices because of just their dialogue. Like whenever
mhm,
Lucifer's in court in the first issue, and she's being a smartass and she's like, surely it's up for the court to decide like a causal link between my actions and the thing.
very
And she's like,
theatrical, you know.
yeah, but whenever she's like, sounds like an I don't know act of God, and she's like just the way that she says it, like you can hear her saying it because you're like, oh yeah, I know, like I know the inflection that she's using like right here, just because of the way that everything like goes, and it's like, oh, it's so good.
That's the cool part about it too, is that like this is being set up in the sense of like, oh, you want to charge me with this murder? That means you have to
Mhm.
declare me a god.
Yeah,
And if you're cool
she's
with
like, all
that,
right.
like that's fucking it. Um, so at this point, she's escaped prison. Everyone was saying that she just needs to just sit in prison. And if that's what she does for the next 2 years, fuck it. And then she's like, I'm not gonna do that. No, there's no
Yeah,
fucking way. And if no one's gonna come help me, then I'm gonna fucking leave. And she leaves, she fucks up a bunch of shit, and there's a big old fight like we just saw. And then it comes all down to she's just calmed down. She's like, fuck, I fucked up. But you know what? Like, let's just move on. Let's just carry on and whatnot. And she walks outside of the
yeah,
door. Dude, the coolest
and
head explosion. This gives
oh, it's
me vibes of like Frank Whiteley in that sense. Like
okay. Yeah, I
his
can
like
see that.
yeah, like his All-Star Superman Flex Metallo, like weird head shit that he used to do. Yeah.
Yeah,
But bam,
that's
dude.
also like the striking difference between like that red and her white suit is
Hmm.
like,
And the difference between a god head exploding versus like a human head that we saw back in issue one. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
that's chunks. That's an explosion, those are bits and pieces. And look at the eyeballs and things like that. And this is like a fucking cosmic entity right there, you know?
yeah. And then again, the use of the black page with just the small white
So
text.
good.
Like that's such a good.
This scene where she's just screaming and you see the blood fucking firing out of her body. And then you
Mhm,
just have, I don't remember anything about the next few minutes. I guess I'm grateful for that. That pause, that like you get a breath, and then
mhm.
you just have the most dramatic sequence, like holding a bloody body screaming.
Oh, it's
Oh,
so traumatic.
it throws you right back in. Fucking just gets you running in the entire thing. And then Morgan doing her crazy Jane shit, changing over.
Yeah.
Um,
It's and like that's such a this is such a wild scene too, because the whole like the series is very much set up the fact that like Lucifer, besides Laura, is like the other main character. If you
yeah,
had to pick one,
yeah.
like out of the pantheon, she's the one that we've spent the most time with, and are like, okay, like it's gonna be about her and like saving her. But
Hmm.
like, nope, she just got
And
absolutely
that's
demolished,
what
and
trips me
like,
out, where I was just like, what the fuck? What happens next? And then I love
yeah,
the mic drop that, what's her name? Anaki
uh,
of the
yeah,
Pantheon.
Ananki, however it said, yeah.
Just fucking mic drop. And she's like, enough, leave us to mourn. And then she's doing interviews and she's fucking so zoned out that like her
She's
parents
just
have to,
so she does not. She's just in complete shock
yeah,
that like,
covered in blood. Her parents drag her away and she's like, Why would I don't know why they did that, but I guess whatever.
Yeah, and then these pages are so good too,
Oh,
where like it's clear how much this is affecting her. And it's done in such a like, I don't want to say normal, but like kind of normal way where it's like,
very
well,
nonchalant.
yeah, that
Yeah, like
like this is like that's what happens. Like it just is like this is how she is now. This is how she feels like because of what she's experiencing. Like, oh. And
yep.
then yeah, the fact that she clicks the cigarette to light apparently
Yeah.
is
And
very
then
wild.
oh god, it's not over.
Hmm.
Whew.
And that's
Fucking
the
great.
yeah.
Dude, it's very compelling. I think, when I was here's some cool variants and shit. When I was looking into it the
It's
first time, I couldn't grasp it all, and like the gods felt kind of, I wouldn't say this is a good like very first comic book for someone to pick up. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Um but I mean it surely could be if you're into some of that stuff, and that's kind of like easier for someone to grasp. This is a Chip
I-
Zdarsky one. It's
nice.
with
I think it's a
Kieran.
good first book to pick up in the like artistic sense because I know that a lot of people
Oh
will like
yeah. I could see
get
that.
turned off by like non-house style art, like
Hmm. I could
and
agree
like
with that.
I feel like it's pretty difficult to argue that this is some of the like prettiest looking art that you can find in a book.
Dude, yeah. Oof, fucking great shit. Even the fucking this one, this like ad they had on it. This is a
Hmm.
great way just to explain it. And it's weird. I read this before I started reading it, and I was like, "Oh, this all makes sense." And it's basically breaks it down real fast. What? You don't know the story? Every 90 years, 12 gods come back. Good news, bad news, you're one of them. The life you had before is over. Your life is over. 2 years as a pop icon, and then but the journey, everyone loves you except the haters. Some haters have machine guns. Can we perform miracles? Oh, please. Don't be gullible. Trust me, it's all special effects. And this isn't 2 seasons of a really good TV show that gets canceled. Oh, gee, isn't that a shame? This is you, DEAD. What? Who would who would want that? And that's the Wicked and Divine. Fucking
And then I love that the who would want that, and then it's the picture of Laura who like
there you go.
absolutely wants that. Like,
Brilliant. Yeah. Laura gives me very Sandman character vibes too. Like, um, homegirl from the Dollhouse, the main character, spacing
mm,
her name, but also like some of what's her name? I'm spacing out the endless character. That I should fucking know because I drew her recently.
I'm not
Um,
sure.
are you a Sandman fan? I'm curious.
I have not read any Sandman.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's one of my big oversights. I can't
Damn.
lie.
Dude, how have you read this shit but not Sandman? You gotta fucking
I
circle
know.
back. I have one comic book tattoo. I say it so much on the show, but it's of Sandman.
Really?
That's how fucking important it is to me. Yeah, I'll show it to you. Yeah.
I have uh well, if you don't count Star Wars as comic book, I have all comic book tattoos.
That's fucking cool.
Like if you exclude Star Wars. Because I have the Krakoan flower and then a Batman sleeve and then Morrigan.
Yeah, that was the first thing I noticed about you too. I was like, that fucking bat symbol's sick.
Yeah.
But dude, The
Um,
Wicked and Divine, Volume
mhm.
1, fucking solid. Like I wanted to like just continue reading into Volume 2. Like
Oh yeah.
it's and for it to be a 50 issue series, that sounds like a fun thing to kind of just like go through over time, and like it sounds like a good checklist type of book. Like it's an essential read, I would say. And Karen's writing is just so fluid. It's easy to digest. You could really
Mhm.
catch on because you're caught up on that single character. Laura grounds the series so much.
Yeah.
And now that you've been grounded and you've been introduced and everything has kind of been digested over 5 issues, I feel like here on out it'll ramp up and get bigger because it's like, okay, we started here, ordinary life, and now it'll be easier to understand the rest. And you just had to fucking open those gates a bit.
The rate of escalation in this series is frankly insane.
Yeah.
Like it the way because it's a weird thing going back because I've read this series a handful of times now, and I at one point was doing a like I did a series of articles where I would reread an issue and then write an article about that issue
Nice.
for this series. I never ended up finishing it, which sucks. I should have, but I got to like issue 30 something, and like it's just crazy, like getting to a certain point in the book and then like going back and like I would go back and reread issue 1 or whatever, and just seeing like how much is established immediately out of the gate that like is necessary and like builds everything that like, which obviously like, you know, what happens at the beginning is going to build forward, but like just how intricately things are like laid out, and like how intelligently like you're brought into the world, and like you said, like you're like, okay, like I'm here and I get it and I see everything, and like now it's time to like go forward and like go into it. Yeah, it's just it's masterfully done. I
And
have to
that's
ask, like, what did you think about Lucifer's decision to like be like, no, I'm not staying here? Because like it's a very interesting thing where like you can kind of see, at least like I think like you can make the argument for like why the Pantheon is like, no, like I mean, we'll be back in 90 years. Like, just don't ruin this for everyone. Chill. Like,
yeah.
we're not supposed to fuck with people that much. Like, you broke the rules. Like, you knew this. Like, I get that you're the devil or whatever, but like, we're trying to like not ruin our time here while we've got it. Like, so what do you think about like that kind of like conflict there?
I think it's almost expected at that point. Like, it just makes sense for Lucifer to be the one that shakes things up and fucks with things a little bit, you know? And you're kind
Yeah.
of like curious on like how it's gonna happen and what she's gonna do and like how far she'll go at that point. And I
Yeah.
was just kind of waiting for that bomb to go off at the very beginning because I mean, the fact that she was that adamant right out of the gate on issue one, you just know that like security walls aren't going to hold her. It's that supervillain type of thing, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it's just like you know whatever she's just letting them do this, and you know she's more powerful than this. So you're just waiting to see what needs to happen, and it unfolds just like that. You know what I mean? Like it, and it's not to
Yeah.
say that it's predictable. It's just like that's just like the way the storytelling goes. And
It's like to quote, I'm gonna quote that podcast you turned me on to, You Are a Storyteller, like
mm,
where they're like talking about how when you have a clear idea of what your story is and needs to be, everything happens in the way where you're like, well, yeah, it couldn't happen another way.
yeah,
Like this is what
exactly.
need like you're like, yeah, this is what needed to happen for the story. Like, of course that like went through. And that and like you just said, that's not to say that it's predictable or that it's bad. It's just like, yeah, that's what the story needed. So that
Yeah.
happened.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. If you would have put any other god in that position, if you would have put the Morgan and the Morgan, that it just wouldn't make sense. You'd be lost. You wouldn't really understand because you know what? A lot of these other gods, like nobody's really heard of or is very familiar with. You hear
mhm.
Lucifer, you know
Like,
what
oh,
the
okay.
fuck. You know what I
I
mean?
mean,
There
that's literally like she makes a joke about it in her entrance. She lists off like 8 different names
yeah.
and is like, yeah, like everyone knows me by a bunch of names.
Yeah, exactly. And that's like the only character you really have that with. So it's like you're going to give familiarity where familiarity's due, you know? You don't want to confuse readers. You want to keep them captivated and going. And if you're going to shake things up, you're not going to choose some foreign like and not to say like any like in that sense, you know what I mean? But like as
Yeah,
some
yeah, just like
not
something that you couldn't be as certain that people will know.
yeah, exactly. And you know, gods are so like I get into like a lot of like Hindu and Indian gods because of fucking Grant Morrison and 18 Days and the Invisibles and shit.
Yeah.
And like some stuff does seem familiar to me, but it's like that's because I've done my own research for fucking years over shit like that.
Yeah, and
But
that's a lot, and that's like a very specific thing. That's like
yeah,
not widely studied, you know, not everyone is just gonna know that. So
yeah,
yeah, it
exactly.
definitely makes sense for Lucifer to be that. Um, who do you think is the murder? Like, of the murderer? Do
Man,
you
and
think
see, I suck at fucking crime shit and detective things. That's why I watch a lot of Columbo now. It's because I'm trying to get better at that shit. Um,
instead of doing the important research?
yeah. Um, and I couldn't really like name drop people as like much. I would say, if anything, I would maybe even say it's a Morgan to an extent. You know what I mean? Because she seems like a very like tricky character, and if you have multiple personalities, sometimes you don't know what the fuck is going on.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Just
I can't
off
say
my
anything.
head. Yeah, I
I mean,
can't.
obviously, like I
Yeah.
know.
I don't know.
I know.
I'm hyped to read more of these. I'm hyped to cover more of them. I want to get through. Maybe I could get through these first 3 volumes before I pack up during the move over the next month or so. So that'd be fucking sick. Um, man, it's So how long have you been reading this series? When did you catch on again? Like the last 3 issues. This came out in 2014. So I probably
Yeah,
bought this in 2015 or something.
so this started in June of 2014, and the last issue came out in September of 2019.
Oh,
So
nice.
I,
It's still such a
uh,
new series. That's crazy how much
yeah,
happened.
it's still like it's one of the more recent like big hits, which is crazy because I remember whenever like all the issues were coming out, and like it was a huge deal. But yeah, like I said, I jumped on grabbing the single issues with number 31. So I read from 31 to 45. So like I guess like 2 years.
Nice.
So 2017 would be when I started reading it.
This was like
Um,
during a reign of Image Comics where you had like Deadly Class and Black Science and like
Saga was still coming
Saga
out
was coming out and
regularly.
like
Like,
this was out and like you had these
mhm.
long form series that hit 50 issues or above. And that's not as common, I feel, with a lot of these indie series at this point.
It's also just so wild. I was thinking about it, and like I can't imagine how it is as a creator. And like Kieron and Jamie talked about this some after Wicked wrapped, about like, of course, being eternally like grateful for the support and everything and like all the fans, but like also being very glad to be done with that, because they were like, and I remember that one of Kieron's quotes especially was like, yeah, I mean, like I love that book and I love those characters, but it's also something that I dreamed up and was a story that I was very much like needed to tell 6 years ago.
Nice.
Like, like he's like, I'm not the same person that I was 6 years ago, obviously. And so like, not that the story isn't reflective of obviously like how he feels or anything, but I was like, man, I can't imagine like working on a monthly comic for like 6 years.
Yeah, when you think
Like
about like how much has happened in your life in the last five,
six
six
years.
years,
Yeah, like 5, 6 years.
that's
That's
that's a
insane. And
lot.
like I know they took a while off to like, there was a decent amount of time where they no issues were like published, just so Jamie could like because of some of the art that one of the issues required, which like I don't know how he did it. But still, like to be able to do that like essentially monthly for that long is just
That's
bonkers.
insane. And it's an indie book. It's not like one of the big two, which is a different type of
Yeah.
pay rate and whatnot too. You know what I mean? Um, I don't know. Overall, fucking hype that we picked it up. Hype that we got to do this book on the show, dude. And I think that was a fucking solid introduction of like your comic book knowledge to like
Oh,
come back on the
thank
show
you.
and fucking talk comics and shit. We haven't talked comics with like random people in so long. It's kind of refreshing and whatnot. So
No, I mean, I feel very special, very grateful to be on the show.
fuck yeah. Well, we'll get you on soon on another episode. But until then, Alex, we would keep on mentioning real fast that you write articles, you do all this. Like, give us a
Yeah.
quick shout out to like what the fuck you do in general.
So you can find me on Twitter at AP Batman with two T's. My ad is the same on Instagram. You can find my writing. I review comics regularly for CBR. So just check out Comic Book Resources Reviews. Good chance some of the comic ones will be mine. Um, Also, if you like Star Wars and you like GIFs, I have a Star Wars GIF account on Twitter. That's at one with the GIF. So that's pretty cool. And yeah, I have a cool project that's going to be announced soon to be on the lookout for, people. Brandon mentioned it kind of, vaguely at the beginning. And honestly, by the time this episode goes up,
We
it
might
might
even
even
have it
be,
out. Yeah, we'll find out.
yeah, be announced. So yeah, keep your eyes peeled on my social media and stuff for that, because it's gonna be a very cool thing that I'm looking forward to.
Fuck yeah. Well, dude, thanks for coming on and thanks for hanging.
Oh, yeah, thanks for having me.